Milou, how do you create content for someone else?
Shoot, we're really diving right in, right?
I told you.
How do you create content for someone else? I mean, it's a great question because it's tough, right? If you're not doing it for yourself, but someone else. I think the biggest thing is studying someone. Like, you really need to know someone, and then me bringing my social media marketing expertise and then applying that to the person. But of course, I'm not them. So there's certain things that I can't do for someone and just really guide them at that point. Yeah.
So let's kind of go dive into the detail, because like I've tried to do social media for our clients, and I just couldn't figure it out because I also don't think that like I can't imagine somebody making content for me.
Right.
So what does that process look like when you first started working with a client? How do you learn about them? How do you know what to post and all of that?
Yeah. So, and I can totally see that too on the personal brand side. Back in the day, I would have said, I hate managing personal brands. I can't do it. But I feel like I kind of found like love for it because starting out, we really get to know the client. We start with strategy. What are they looking to achieve? And typically that's creators that they don't want to be the face anymore. Like, they are the face, but they don't want to constantly create content, constantly do all of that. So that's where they come to us and then they say, they want to outsource that part, where, again, strategy always comes first, right? What do they even want to achieve with social media? Is it supposed to drive more sales to a membership or traffic or, whatever it may be? And from there on, we're going to start strategizing the content, what type of content, getting as much assets from them, and having shared albums with our clients. So even for not just in-feed, but for example, stories, because of course, as a personal brand, I cannot, or my team cannot show up on stories for them. So we make it look like it's still the client, whether it's them asking a question to their audience, them showing behind the scenes. It's just not done in real time, basically.
So can you give like an example, let's say a fitness trainer, like a real life example of one of the clients you're working with, and then like how you would extract content for them, or how would you write content for them and all? Yeah,
so a good example of one of our current clients is she is a yoga teacher on YouTube, has a large audience. And so she has long form content. So that already really helps, right? I can really get to know them. My team can really get to know them by just binge watching them in their YouTube content. Then we have shared albums with them so that they take snippets of behind the scenes on what they're doing, whether they're eating lunch, whether they're with their family, or whether something comes to their mind, like how someone would normally hop on threads or stories, but instead they share it with us, and we can take that and plan that in where we see fit. And then, we take that content, and again, it's like, it's not as produced looking because we're pretending to be someone. So we can use those photos, put a poll up first, for example, strategically to get that engagement. Then after that, we would lead them maybe to an offer or a talking video of them sharing something, setting up a ManyChat, whatever it may be, right? And that's really how we go about that. Of course, with long form content, there's a lot to repurpose. But also what I found is over time is you need more than just the long form content repurposing. You need that authentic, raw vibe and some storytelling, of course, about them that typically performs best. Yeah.
And do you write for them also?
Yeah. So when it comes to writing for them, again, you're studying how they would write. So typically we go back to a time where either they have never hired someone before to do it, or to a time where they were writing themselves. So we can really catch on to the language they use, how they typically write. And of course, in the first month, we get the most revisions from a client, right? Like, that's when we really get on the same page. But after time, you really start to learn how to talk like someone. And
so it takes like about a month for...
Yeah, I would say there's definitely onboarding is a full month, and then like to really get on the same page, 1 or 2 months to really get through the roughest revisions, I would say.
And do you guys also do the engagement and like the actual managing the account?
Yeah, we actually do too. And so it's very different whether we manage like a corporate brand or a personal brand, right? So we have to tread a lot more lightly with a personal brand, like making sure, hey, if it's anything personal, we keep that in the primary inbox, for example. We don't touch that. That's theirs. And anything that, it's just followers that we're interacting with is kind of off limits to our team. But having guidelines there too, rules and certain scripts to kind of stick to, unless, it's something that at that point, it's something the client needs to answer and we, pass the ball over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on average, like how much time would you say the client needs to spend? Like once they hire you, is it like completely hands off and you guys take care of everything, or like?
Yeah, so that's actually a question I always get from people. How much time is this going to be on my end? And typically I wouldn't say maybe 2 hours max on the client. It's like gathering some of the content, maybe some content that we ask you to record or provide. So that would probably be maybe an hour-ish spread out. And then an hour of, giving your revisions every month to the calendar. Like, hey, this needs to change. This is good to go. Unless we've had clients before too that are just so busy and they're like, I hired you to do this. We trust you. Go ahead. So that's an option too, of course, but it's up to the client. Yeah.
But do you get like each piece of content approved by the client? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we do.
So, but do you do it in batches or something, or?
So we do a month at a time, like 2 weeks to a month at a time. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the growth rate. So, because like I think a lot of like from the client's perspective, a lot of people are kind of scared or afraid to hire social media managers or marketers because they've hired people before and it didn't perform.
Yeah.
Or it didn't do anything for them, right? So, yeah, what's like realistic here, and how do you? Because like every industry is different, right?
Yeah.
So how do you know how to grow an account, or like how to get audience depending on the industry or something like that?
Right. Yeah. First of all, when we talk growth, I feel like everyone's referring to followers, right? And like in my opinion, and when we do strategy, growth looks different for everyone. For some people, it's getting leads. Well, obviously, you don't need more followers necessarily to get leads or to get conversions. These can happen in the DMs. These can happen in, engagement stuff. So growth is really objective in terms of, what does growth look like for someone? We never guarantee audience growth because this depends. Yes, we have case studies of a creator and client that we grew to over 100,000 from scratch within a year. But it's not for everyone, right? It doesn't happen all the time. We've had clients who don't grow their audience at all. They already had an audience, but they are making sales. They are increasing their sales. They are able to show up without having to show up. So it's like, that's an ROI in itself, So it really depends what growth is, but I'm always very realistic with the client in the discovery call so that there's no conflict on month 3 or month 4, because at the end of the day, we are talking organic social media, right? We're not talking ads. Yeah. We're not talking,
So you kind of set that up front, like you said, for you, this is how we're going to measure success, like number of leads or number of sales or followers, whatever it is.
Right, yeah. So I typically ask a client, what does a successful partnership look like to you? And if they say, well, we want 10,000 followers by the end of this partnership, I'm like, I don't think you're a good fit for us.
Okay.
Because I can't guarantee that. Maybe we will hit 10,000 followers, but I don't want to be like on a leash strain.
What if they say like, I want 5 leads a month or whatever?
It depends. Like, do they have an audience? That's what I would look at. Like, do you already have an audience? Like, if you do, then it might be realistic to get 5 new leads a month. But again, we don't guarantee, but I will tell them what would be realistic and what wouldn't. If anything, I would under-promise, over-deliver in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a client where you started working with them and it wasn't performing, like it was just not going the way you expected at all?
I think there has been several cases, and especially in my earlier days, I would say, where I wasn't as clear as setting expectations, or maybe I didn't, scan the client as well. Like sometimes you have a gut feeling of like, can we take this on or can we not? And you're not sure whether you are taking them on based on an emotional response or, So we've definitely had that before. But again, I feel like I'm very down to earth, realistic. Like if a partnership really doesn't work out, I'm not going to keep them to, maybe the end of their agreement. If they want to go, they can go, like type. Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit. So for people who want to start their own social media like management company or marketing company, how do you, I have a bunch of questions for that. How do you, but I want to start with that one. How long is like a typical engagement period for you?
To start their own agency, or what do you mean?
Like let's say they want to start their own agency and start providing the service. What should the minimum engagement be, I guess?
Oh, with a client,
yeah,
right?
with a client.
Yeah, so I would recommend minimum 3 months, which is still short. We do 6 months, but month to month is not a thing, right? Like, yeah, I did that when I was first starting out to get clients, get them to trust me, prove myself. But, you know, we're talking organic, so it's really, you need to be committed to 6 to 12 months, financially be able to, and like, you know, it's realistic because marketing is ongoing. Really, our best clients that understand and are our ideal clients are pretty much with us for life, right? Unless, you know, something comes up or whatever happens. But yeah, typically marketing doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Right?
So after that 6 months, do you do month to month, or do you also do renew for another 6 months?
Yeah, we renew for another 6 to 12 months because the thing also is being boutique, right? A small team, it's like people take up the space. So if let's say we get another client that's really great, that takes up a lot of space, and you know, from our side, we could also say we don't want to renew if a partnership isn't as great as we wanted. So, you know, typically they will renew, and sometimes into 12 months as well, to make sure that.
Also, it has nothing to do with like there's no like set hours for clients. It's like some clients might take longer and some might not.
I think that's the hard part with creative, right? Like being creative, creating content. Sometimes it's faster than other times. But yeah, depending on the package they are and their scope, I would say, right, of the project. Yes, some do take up more time than others. Yeah.
So you said that before you did month to month when you started out. So would you like for the people that are like, okay, that are just starting out and they want to work, you know, freelance as a social media marketer or social media manager, would you recommend them to start doing month to month or to do engagement, like minimum engagement?
Yeah, so I would say, honestly, I did month to month because I was proving myself, like you're desperate for clients, right? So whatever gets the client kind of over the line. I think it's okay to do 1 a month. I mean, it's ideal if you can sign on clients for 3 months at a time. Yeah, so I don't think there's a right or wrong. I mean, obviously, month to month is not ideal, but if you need to get clients in the door and build your reputation, then why not, you know?
Yeah, maybe you can kind of share how you got started.
Yeah. So I actually started out, I was still in college when I started taking on my first clients. I was working for the university newspaper and I was selling advertising as a student job. And it was going quite well. It was on commission. I was super hungry. It was like really not a serious job, right? But I took it very serious. And so it went well. And then I started building clients because I was cold calling for the university. And I was like, can I do something with those clients? And I was like, well, I don't have a magazine. I don't have advertising to sell. But I was like, there's social media nowadays. So that's when I started learning social media. And I was like, maybe some of these clients want to move into my new business and do social. Spoiler alert, none of these clients actually became social media clients. But it did give me, you know, that push to start. And that's when I started doing social media. I started volunteering first. I started taking on volunteer jobs, talking to family and friends, see who.
Oh, so you did it for free?
I started for free. And then my first paying client was a family friend, and I think it was like $300, which was amazing then because I was like, whoa, I'm doing what I want to do and someone's paying me for it. So that's how I got rolling.
Okay, so you did a lot of like free or like kind of like low price work, and then you built experience.
Yeah.
And then once you had those, you kind of you leveraged that as portfolio too.
Yeah, exactly. And then I came to a point where, you know, getting clients was no longer a problem for me. Obviously, I was too cheap. That's why I started getting a lot of clients. And then I slowly started to change my pricing, increase my pricing, jump that way and transition. Very organically. Because it's also not, you know, often in our industry with social media, it's like, oh yeah, just charge thousands of dollars. But if you have zero experience and you have no skill set, obviously you're not just going to wake up and charge that amount of money, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I started. Like I lost so much money the first year,
Yeah.
but I built such a great portfolio
Yeah.
that from the second year, like that portfolio was basically the bank.
So where did you start? Was this in New York? How did you get
Oh,
started?
no. Yeah, my story is like
Yeah.
really long. Yeah, I started as a freelancer.
Okay.
So
Got it.
the first project I did, I got paid $1,700,
I mean, that's good for first project.
but it took me 9 months.
Okay. 9 months, $1,700.
Yeah.
Do the math.
And then the second one took me 3 months
Yeah.
for $3,000, so that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
But then, so my whole year was gone, basically.
Right.
But then the third project I got was $10,000.
Oh, shit.
And it only took me a month. So
That's
yeah,
exciting.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
that.
And I want to talk with you lots about this in our
Okay.
content session. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get back to you. So for somebody, okay, 2 questions. So when you were ramping up, right?
Yeah.
How were you getting clients? Were they finding you online? Was it like referrals or?
Yeah. So personal brands, I would say 100%. I cannot be more thankful for me committing to my personal brand. That was always a thing for me, to be my own biggest client. And I think a lot of people don't do that.
You mean like putting your own content?
Yeah, putting my own content out there and really building my personal brand, because, you know, I turned a personal Instagram into a business Instagram with 400 followers. And I was just trying to put my services and skills out there. So I would 100% say it was 100%.
When was that? How long ago?
5 years ago, 6 years ago,
Okay.
not super long.
Okay.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago, that's when I started doing that. And yes, when I did get my first clients, I did get a few referrals, especially when I was, you know, I had a great rate. So I did tell clients as well, like, hey, if you know anyone, you know, here's an incentive for you to send me someone. So a little bit of both, but I would say initially the personal brand. And like we were saying, right, free work. I was doing free social media audits, free. It built my skill set and experience, I would say. I wouldn't say that a lot of these people converted. But
And they were finding you through your account with 400 followers?
yeah, so like I would do a lot of outreach. I would say.
Okay, got it.
They weren't like, whoa, we need a, you know, Facebook groups. Even I started cold calling and cold emailing, which I guess makes me cringe. Like I hate doing anything cold.
Really?
Yes. And so
Even when you were working in that student radio station, like,
well, I had
or
to,
the
right?
newspaper?
Yeah, I had to. I was cold.
but you didn't like it?
No. I mean, I didn't know of any other way. I didn't know about social media and the way that could work, or content.
So it was like out of desperation.
Yeah, exactly. That was just the thing. You had to cold call. You had to pick up the phone and call random businesses.
So what do you think is about? Because most people who hate cold calling, they just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because I would say that's like 90% of people, right?
Yeah.
And if they just, whereas in you forced yourself to do it.
Yeah.
So what is it about? Do you think that's like your personality? It's like, oh, if I have to do it, so I'm just gonna do it, or?
Yeah, I think it was just like my background as an athlete. I was a student athlete in university. I couldn't play anymore. That's why I started working and stuff. And that's really like the determination. Tennis.
Okay.
Yeah, I played tennis. That's what, like, I wanted to make this business work, whatever I was doing, and I would do whatever it took, right? If I had a cold call, I did a lot of cold calling. Even on LinkedIn, I started cold messaging, like those messages we all hate, right, to receive on LinkedIn. Taking cold discovery calls. And I know it works. It does work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people have a lot of success with it, but it doesn't align with my values.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you, like, doing that and kind of grinding it out?
Yeah.
Before you started actually, like, you know, making a living, you know, making it profitable?
I would say maybe 2 years. I think my first year I was combining coaching a lot I was driving Uber Eats, on the side. Yeah, all the things to combine it. And then I think it was around the time that COVID hit too, that took me off the court. So I couldn't teach, I couldn't coach. And I was like, I mean, it's a great opportunity to go all in, right? And I think around my second
coaching
year,
tennis?
Coaching tennis. And then in my second year, I mean, I had several clients, and they are recurring, right, with social media marketing, that it was solid. Like, yeah, it was a solid, like, living, like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think I can kind of, and I think I see this pattern a lot when I talk to, like, I know you talked to Brock Johnson, and he was an athlete also. And I actually do see a huge correlation between entrepreneurs who are successful and, like, they were all like high school or college athletes.
Right.
And there's something about that discipline and just investing time, like delay gratification, all of that, right?
Right. Yeah. I was on a podcast with Brock and we talked about that a ton. It's like, as athletes, we speak the same language, right? Because it's like, I don't want to get up at 5, 6 a.m. to do a workout. I don't want to work out on Sunday, but am I going to do it? Yes, because we want to win that championship. So it's like, the championship is not here yet. It's not until months away, but we're doing the stuff that we don't want to do to get to where we want to go, I think.
Yeah, I can, from hearing your story of like you kind of, coaching, driving Uber Eats and
doing whatever, Instacart, whatever. Yeah.
For 2 years trying to figure that out, I can kind of like, I feel like there's some, because when I talk to people, I'm always looking at their attitude.
Yeah.
And I think you have that thing that...
What's the thing?
There are certain people that I meet where I'm like, okay, this person, like, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to be successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's something about that, because what you described that you did for 2 years, that's not something majority
Most
people would do.
Yeah. And I think sometimes I feel like we don't see that. It's like, oh, this is normal. Like, who wouldn't do this? Like,
Yeah, you don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. And other people are like, you're crazy. You're like, but it's fun.
Yeah. So if somebody was starting out, how much do you think... Well, let's talk about this, because so one of the first things I did when I started my agency is, so I freelanced for 2 years and I started my agency, is I went to every agency in New York.
Yeah.
And I pretended to be a client and I got a quote.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I just wanted to see how much the market rate was. Yeah.
Right.
And I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm undercharging, right?
Yeah.
So, like, do you know what the market rate is, average? What are clients expecting to pay? What are other social media marketers and managers charge?
Yeah. So I think it's really hard in our industry because... Sure, you can get someone still for 500, probably less a month, that they will say, oh yeah, we'll manage your social media, right? Of course, there's different levels. And then like it goes...
How is that possible? How...
I mean, I did it, like,
So they're losing money, basically.
Yeah, or like, I think the difference what was for me is that I was a social media manager then, someone that literally manages social media, yes, post content, but there's zero strategy, right? Right now, I moved into becoming a strategist. I'm thinking like ahead, I'm thinking towards your goals. I'm thinking what other marketing pieces should be there so that we can make this work. So I think that's the biggest difference. And then what kind of client you're going after. Because they will be like, oh yeah, like my target audience is local small businesses, but no one wants to pay, you know, my rates. It's because, it's not the ideal.
Is that why those student newspaper clients didn't translate to...
Yeah, I think because, I mean, if you are paying for ads in a university newspaper, I don't know how much you would actually believe in social media.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was like, that's
like a local pizza shop or something.
Yeah, or like they probably, I don't know. Sometimes it also felt like, I was trying hard. I was putting in a lot of work. I was putting in hours outside of just at the office to meet potential clients that would want to show them the magazine and whatnot. And I think that sometimes they just wanted to give me the win. You know what I mean? They were like, okay, let's just buy an ad.
I love that. I love that you went like,
I went like overboard. Yeah.
It's like almost like door to door, right?
Yes. I would show up at their business. If it would be like let's say an auto shop, I would make sure I would get my car fixed there. And then I'd be like, ads,
Are you would you say you're an introvert or extrovert?
So I feel like I'm like, I have an extroverted shell, but I do feel like I'm introvert, like maybe an extroverted introvert. I like to not be around a lot of people. I love one-on-one conversations, but not as much in a group. Okay,
yeah. I mean, this is the first time I'm actually talking to you in person, but I can kind of sense, like, if you were going door to door, like,
like the massive extrovert.
I can sense a little bit of like you have that charisma and like, I feel like I'll buy from you.
Right, exactly. It was kind of like, oh, we feel bad for this girl at this point. Let's just buy an ad. Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody wanted, what would you say is like, if somebody is doing social media management with the strategy, like you were saying, what do you think they should be charging?
I would say a minimum 1,500, 2,000 a month.
Okay.
And
what is that? What should they expect to provide for that?
I would say there would be full management on like creating content and like strategizing the content and managing the account. I would say,
is there like a number of posts? Do you go by like how many posts?
Yeah, we do. But again, when you're looking at a strategy perspective, you actually cannot put a specific number to it. Some people need more engagement than posts, right? So it's kind of like, and we typically do that with clients. Yes, we tell them X amount of posts because people do want to know. But it's more like, hey, you know, I think we need a bit more engagement, but we're going to take the posting down, like the posting frequency down. But we explain it to them, and I mean, there's never an issue there. But I think 1,500 is the bare minimum. Where we currently charge 3,500 for full service social media management for a platform. And I know that maybe that doesn't make a client think twice when they sign, right? So we're probably still undercharging. I saw your thread on like if you don't make a client scared to sign with you.
That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
Because if they're if they're like, damn, this hurts, right? And they write that check, it means they really need it.
And
and they see the value in it.
Yeah.
That they're even willing to sign that tough check. But then if they're like, no, that means you're charging too high, right?
Right.
But if it's too easy, then means there's room for
right, totally.
You're providing more value than they think is worth. Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, totally. And I feel like that's what you also see with whether someone charges like for social media organic, like a social media manager, like a $500 or like it goes up into the thousands and beyond. It's like, it's a sense of excitement, right? And I'm sure you guys have that with very large projects that people are excited. You get excited about spending a certain amount of money because of, you know, what's to come. And like, I don't know, it's kind of energy moving.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Like for me, I went through the same thing. In the beginning, I worked with a lot of like tech startups and smaller brands. And I noticed that like most of them just cannot afford a certain, certain fee. So then you had to kind of, and I would imagine the same thing in social media.
Yeah. And I think there's also, especially with, in the industry now, it depends on the type of client, but certain creators and brands, if not, what they will do is they will hire in-house, right? They will get someone in-house. But then
for 3,500, I guess, they can probably.
Yeah, or if you go beyond, like a little bit beyond the 3,500, you can definitely hire someone full time, right?
Like at least like an entry level person.
Yeah, entry level, exactly. But the difference is that, I mean, we still see corporate brands, hiring us to work with their team because the team doesn't have the knowledge, the skills, the training. And you don't have to train us, obviously.
It's like a 21-year-old intern.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, we can post on social media. We don't ever manage.
That's actually so true. Because like, I guess like some of the clients wouldn't understand this, but for me, there are posts, like one post that brings me like 100 times the result than like all the other posts, right? Like, because I'll have posts that gets like 100,000 views versus maybe my average post will only get like 1,000 views or something like that, right? So it's not just about the number of posts.
No. It really isn't. Of course, we love when a lot of work gets put in and whatnot. And some people do need a little bit more frequency to test and find out what's going on. But yeah, like if one post pops off, then, that's obviously can last a long time. Yeah. But at the same time, I will say when you have like one post pop off, what I personally love to do is build on that momentum. You have momentum. Continue to post now because it will get seen by all those people that are getting eyes on your profile.
Yeah. You also, when you work with clients, do you also do repost? Because the other day I saw you talking about like, you posted something 7 times.
Yeah. So this was for myself, I will say, because I can test as much as I want on my own account. For clients, we definitely do repurposing as well. Repurposing, reposting. If we had a viral piece of content or something was high performing, you will see it does good again. And sometimes even better if their audience has grown. But yeah, for myself, this was crazy, and that's how we know the algorithm is like not necessarily changing, but timing sometimes does matter, right? Yeah. Some days, something does better than another day. I'm not talking about 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. And so I had one reel that I repurposed the same text. It was different B-roll in the background, but the same message, the exact same message. And it kind of went viral this time. And before, I've had times where I got maybe 2,000 views, or one time 40,000, and this time it was
what are the gaps in between, like you posting and?
It depends on your frequency. So I post a lot, so it's not going to be as obvious, right? It's not that you look at my grid and you see the same post like back to back.
But is it like months or days?
No, I would say like a couple weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never done that. But I have done like I have posted and like 6 months later do the same post.
Oh no. Oh, this is definitely less than 6 months. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Because I always think to myself, not all of my followers are going to see this. They're not, right? And especially if you have an account that reaches a lot of non-followers, it's probably other people seeing it.
And it does it affect negatively at all? Like when you repost them?
No. Okay. I wouldn't say so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like,
you're brave.
Yeah,
you're a brave woman.
Yeah, I know some people are like, oh my God, people are going to find out that I reposted this. I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
It's like we watch the same movie over and over again. We read the same books, like sometimes. What's so wrong about seeing it again?
Yeah.
Maybe the first time it didn't really stick with you. The second time you see it, you're like, oh, this makes sense.
I also think that for me, I've had cases where I post something and then 6 months later I'll post. And the first time it only got like 100,000 views.
Yeah.
And then the second time it gets 2 million views.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
It's like, yeah.
It's like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like kind of like the timing. That's why you definitely have to repurpose things and sometimes repost to see.
Or I think the algorithm's changed or something.
Yeah, or like they're working on something on the back end, right? And yeah, so definitely make the most out of your content, you know?
Are you... So it seems like you're not very emotionally attached to like... Because like a lot of the things that you're explaining, whether it's cold calling or like just reposting
right.
and things like that, a lot of it requires you to have like thick skin or like, kinda, you know, are you naturally like that or?
Again, I think it's the athlete thing, right? The thick skin of like, because the crazy thing about that specific repost we just talked about is the first time it kind of got like over 40,000 views, which was great. All the feedback was really good on the post. Everyone agreed with me. Everyone. Now, this time when it went viral, it reached the other side of Instagram and everyone disagreed with me. I'm like, that's cool. It's getting a lot of traffic, right? So yeah, definitely it's thick skin, but like it's I love what you said as being detached. I do feel detached to the numbers. Like if I get 5 likes on a post, I mean, I don't care.
Were you always like, even in the beginning, were you like that?
No, I wasn't in the beginning. I feel like I was very attached until I started studying other creators. And I'm like, man, they're shamelessly posting 3 times a day. I'm like, that's crazy, but it's a different mindset.
It takes some time to get there, I think.
Yeah.
For me too, like now, because what you said about there, that is the downside of going viral. Is like you are gonna get some heat.
Right.
But yeah, you just have to get used to that.
Yeah.
Right? Like if that scares you, then you're gonna have a lot of.
Yeah, that's like when I said I think this was a thread I did where if no one has disagreed with you on social media, you're not reaching enough people because
exactly.
Yeah.
I also think that if no one's hating you, that means you're playing too safe.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and there's nothing more boring than like lukewarm.
I know, or everyone agreeing with you. It's like, come on, like, yeah, totally.
Okay, so do you outsource?
My own personal brand?
Or no, like when you work with clients?
Oh no, it's just my team.
Okay.
So it's
everything you do it
team.
in-house. Okay.
Yeah, everything's in-house, and I'm involved as well. Like I'm heavily involved.
And how does that? Can you break down what are the different type of tasks needed if somebody wants to start their own social media agency? Yeah,
so I think it depends. I will say it depends, right? How you see it work. I mean, you talk about this a lot, like big agency, small agency, like whatever works for you. And so I'm the strategist. We have a social media manager that spends time on content calendars, mapping content ideas, and some social copy as well. And then we have a graphic designer that makes sure everything's on brand, all the design work is done. We have someone for community management, right? That really just focuses on that part. So that I feel like is the really basics must that you need.
Wait, so who does the writing?
The social media manager, yeah.
Okay.
And in combination with myself, yeah, on copy.
That's the part that I found the hardest, because like we don't do social media management or social media, but when our clients ask us to like work with their social media like management team or something like that, I'm just going like, oh my gosh, like they like the stuff they write is so cliche, so vanilla, and so some of them is not even really like related to their it's like they don't understand the brand or something like that.
Yeah, well, I will say you're obviously also a really good storyteller. So you're probably looking with a different eye to it than other people. Maybe the client loves it, right? But no, what I would say is that, and then another role we have is obviously video editing, right? There's so much video going on. And when I say video editing, it's very specific to social, because it, not any video edit, like there's different types of video, like with editing and whatnot. But what I found is if we add, let's say we add a full copywriter that just does copy, the more people that are involved, I feel like the message almost gets lost because they're not as in line with the client. So I have the most face time with all clients, right? I'm really the face and the point of contact. And so I oversee all the copy together with the social media manager who knows how to write social copy. Because again, copywriting can be different for email, whatever types of ads, whatever you do. And so what I found is that, because we've had copywriters in the past too, or where we have more roles, but I feel like there becomes a disconnect when there's too many people involved.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes. Yeah, you always say that. Too many cooks in the kitchen, right? To where...
So you like to have one copywriter for that does that client, only this copywriter will do it.
Yeah, so we don't... it would be the social media copywriter, right? Yeah. Specific to social that, oversees the mapping, what types of posts it is, and the type of copy that goes with it. Because that's the thing with social too, right? Like, let's say...
Do you train them?
Yeah, so they get trained on the client, on the strategy, and
because I was gonna say, like, let's say that person knows nothing about yoga,
right.
Like, so
totally.
That was like the hardest part for me, because our clients are like, for example, yoga brands or like whatever it is, like, people who teach manifesting and all of that, right?
Yes.
and copywriters, like, they're not the experts,
right?
So they don't know the language. They don't know they don't know what people want to hear. So how do you get over that?
Again, that goes back into the whole strategy, right? Which we talked about in the very beginning. Strategy, studying the client, like listening to how they speak, like even sometimes to the extent.
But you do that, or your social media manager?
So I do that first, and then that gets passed on to the social media manager. I'm not here to tell them, hey, sit in with this on me, because that is the roughest work probably. But if I understand it, I can help them do the best they can, But I need to understand the client first before they can do it. Otherwise, I can't even give them revisions internally.
I bet you're really good at, because like for me and a lot of like creatives I know, that is the hardest. The hardest part of growing your business, creative business, is delegating and hiring people and 100%, things like that.
100%.
I feel like you would be really good at it though. Like,
I feel like I used to be really bad at it. I was like, I need to do everything myself. Only I need to know how to do this. To where you get to a point where you have to, and you can still be very involved, and like trusting other people to do a good job. That's how they get better.
Yeah, that's the big thing I noticed is like I used to hire people and this person doesn't perform. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. But I didn't realize like it took months of working with them together, training them and things like that.
And then they understand you better. They know what type of feedback you would give and stuff. Yeah.
And then even after that, you have to make it worthwhile for them and they're enjoying their work, so that you don't like train them for a year and then they leave.
Right. Exactly. You have to make it fun. It's always the balance.
It's the hardest part for me, people is the hardest part of business.
No, it is a lot harder than being a solopreneur. You don't have to deal with anyone.
Okay, so last topic. I want to talk about some common mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's go through 3 different people. So first, social media managers and marketers or agency owners, what are some of the most common mistakes they make? Second, what are the most common mistakes you see clients make?
Yeah.
And then lastly, just content creators in general.
Okay.
So let's start with the first one, social media managers.
Social media managers, number one mistake, not walking the talk. You're telling a client, be consistent, show up on social media. You need social media. The social media manager doesn't have a presence. You know what I mean? That's the number one mistake. I can talk about it for an hour.
Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Me too.
Yeah, right?
I see so many social media managers and they have like 300 followers. They post like once a week.
Exactly. And like I always say it doesn't even have to do with your followers. We're not asking you to have tens and tens and thousands of followers. But honestly, that's why I started building my audience, because I was like,
I actually do think that it does matter. Not because of the followers.
Your ability,
but
your
because
skill.
it proves that you're consistent, right?
Yeah. So like, you mean the audience proves that you're consistent, or?
I mean, for me, if I'm going to hire social media managers, to me, like I posted this other day, like followers don't matter.
Yeah.
How much money you make doesn't matter. College degree doesn't matter. But what matters is having discipline. And those things proves to me that you are disciplined.
Yeah,
you know
that's very true. Because like I see this a lot within my network, or people that obviously I feel like I know almost every social media manager, right? Like, and on social, and they follow, I mainly get followed by them, I would say. And sometimes in the DMs. And the number one thing, people and entrepreneurs in general, we need clients. They struggle with clients. I look at their personal brand. They don't have one. They don't post. They're doing cold outreach and whatnot. But the number one thing is your own.
What do you think is going on? Are they getting clients a different way, or?
So what I think is going on is they have clients. They're busy with clients, so they don't think they need clients. Okay. By the time they need a client, it's too late. Now
that's
you're gonna show
another big mistake.
Now you're gonna. I see it all the time. It's like we all know you haven't shown up for 5 months. You probably need a client now because you're showing up again.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's too late because it takes time to get clients. So.
Yes. They're not just gonna knock on your door. Like a client that might interact with you months ago might be ready now to work with you.
That's what I actually made that same mistake when I first started my agency. Is no matter how busy you are, how full your pipeline is, you should never stop selling.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you don't want to have just enough clients. You want to be turning away clients. Yeah.
Because you can raise your prices. You can do all the things. You are in high demand. But you're actually right. I made the same mistake. Because I think it's just a rookie mistake where you're like, I'm busy. I can't take on clients. And there's the ego thinking, people are all going to be like wanting to work with me if I post this.
I'm busy.
I know. Like, I can't take on clients. If anything, make a wait list, right? But never stop promoting, because people are not going to be ready as quick as you think, or they're not going to sign overnight, So
another thing I saw is the social media marketers or managers that don't work on their own social media. Because like I posted once, like, if you're not growing your own account and things like that, you're not a real social media marketer. And people went nuts.
That's actually funny, because I posted something similar and I got insane backlash.
Yeah.
I posted that as a social media manager, your social media presence is a reflection of your work, is what I said. I think I posted this on LinkedIn.
You did a lot nicer than me.
You think so?
Yeah, because I said
crazy. You're not a social media marketer. Who are you? Yeah. People went nuts. They really on LinkedIn. They came for me. They all came.
So a lot of the narrative that I was hearing is that, but I grew my account, my client's account, or I work with this brand, and like because that was me actually. Because like in my agency, I have some clients where I'll help them with their social media and things like that, and they grow. And after growing my own account, I realized, that had nothing to do with me.
Right.
It's just they had good content or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Because because a lot of those people, they might be able to grow this guy's account, but not someone else. Yeah, exactly.
Or your own. Yeah.
That means it wasn't you.
Right. I agree. And like when you grow your own account or try to, you see really exactly what it takes. And like, you
gotta get your hands dirty.
You have to get because that's the thing too, when there's the thing where social media marketers will talk about how to grow the account, but they're not growing their own account. And it's like, that's hypocritical.
There's like I feel like there's tiny, like little things that you learn when you do that, like how important DMs are, how important like engagement is.
Because all the little things matter at that point to get it moving, because it's hard,
Okay, so let's move on to clients. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see clients make?
Biggest mistakes, probably either like in investing in ads before like nailing organic, like they want a quick return. And so sometimes I think it can be tempting too. Sometimes it shocks me, but there are people that sometimes guarantee followers, and usually that's shady, right?
What do you mean guarantee followers?
Like I've had clients come to me like, oh, there's this service, they guarantee.
Like buy followers or?
No, they just guarantee followers. But yeah, in my opinion, that means they're buying them because you can't guarantee.
Yeah.
And so like I do see that a lot where clients are low-key looking for a shortcut. And so I think that is probably
That's what you mean,
the number one mistake where if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, you must have gone through like really tough time in the beginning, because when I started my agency, the same thing happening, right? Because like there's so many people, like even overseas, that are like charging $500 for websites, and
right,
like they're undercutting you, and clients don't know the difference,
right?
So it's like really hard to convince them. But
yeah, that's the thing, like where what we talked about earlier, right? The difference between like someone charging $500, just someone charging thousands of dollars, and it's like, how do you sell that if they can get it cheaper? But that's where the personal brand comes in, right? Like you're not them, they're not you.
Exactly.
They want to work with you at that point. They don't want to. It's not even about what you deliver or your deliverables or your. At that point, they want to work with you. Yeah. It's almost like a.
People don't understand how important that is. Like in the beginning, to land even one right client that you can prove yourself.
Yeah. Like a case study, or they can refer you other clients if you do good work.
One good client can change everything.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Like everybody's so concerned with like going after all these clients and trying to. Yeah. But what I realized is, like, because now the clients that come to us, they're basically coming because of me and the clients that we've worked with.
Yeah.
So, like if they see that we work with Mark Randolph or Jay Shetty or something like that, like they don't even care like anything else. That's like, oh, you guys did Jay Shetty.
I don't care about the word. Yeah, where do I sign? No, but it's true.
And you just need, and also that one client has connections. Like these people are all everywhere. They're all friends. Yeah. So they when somebody goes to their book launch or whatever, right, other people are going to ask them, hey, I love your website. Yeah, exactly. Or I love how you do your social media. Like, like who do you use? Yeah. Like, that's the best. Yeah.
No, totally. That 100%. That's the power of delivering still great work, right? Because if you disappointed them, they wouldn't mention your name. But I've seen the exact same thing. Like make clients very happy. They will send you other clients.
So I've heard people say, you said before about like, doing paid ads too early, right?
Yeah.
So I've also heard people say, because it takes momentum to build your organic.
Yeah.
Like you should run paid ads to like run A/B testing and stuff like that. Like, what do you think about that?
A/B testing for organic, basically?
Yeah, basically.
It sounds like that's backwards.
That's what, what's his name? The guy who wrote 1 Million Followers. That's kind of what he did. He ran 50 different variations of the same video. Yeah. Like he wanted to prove that he can get 1 million followers in 30 days.
And he did.
And he did.
It does sound familiar, the title. But, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Where he proves that. So, because typically you see the other way around, right? Yeah. If organic works well, then you can use that in ads, right? And double down.
That's true. But that's what Gary Vee says, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also that if you don't have an audience organically, then
maybe it's also because that book is from like almost 10 years ago now. So
yeah, gotta get on Gary Vee's new book.
But the thing is, I think that works on TikTok, because TikTok you can have 0 followers, and if your content is
TikTok.
But Instagram you just can't. I feel like.
Yeah. No, Instagram is way different. Yeah, honestly, TikTok I haven't wrapped my head around till this day, because there are people who have like large audiences there, and then sometimes have a video with 500 views. It's like
that's me.
Really? I didn't look. I swear. But yeah, that's crazy, and you don't need an audience to have a video go viral, right? It's like,
and I think my like 5th video got like 500,000 views.
That's crazy.
That's when I had like no followers.
Yeah,
so.
right, exactly. Which is a good and bad thing, I think. But yeah.
But that doesn't work on Instagram, right? Like when you do you have clients that are like literally starting from scratch, zero?
So I actually had a client. She is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, and she came to us. Yeah, she had like 1,000 followers. On paper, I wouldn't have taken her on where she was at with her business, kind of startup-ish. I feel like we were a little bit on the expensive side starting out, but it was a referral, and I was like, okay, like personality-wise, amazing fit. So typically then we're like, okay, you know what, let's give it a go. And this was actually the client that we grew within 1 year to over 160,000 followers. And again, not a typical case, but this was Instagram. And obviously, so that
what do you think was the difference there?
I think willingness from the client to provide anything and everything, giving us 100% full creative control, do not have to run anything by them. And they trust me 200%. And so I can run it like my own account, basically. And on top of that, the industry, I would say, Chinese medicine, health and wellness, pretty trending. I've seen a lot of other accounts in that industry kind of blow up, but she brings a completely unique perspective to anything and everything, all the content, wealth of knowledge. So there's always so much value there.
I see. Yeah. That I think that is so important, is that no matter how good you are as a social media marketer, if
client,
the product sucks.
Yes, that's exactly. It's like, good marketing doesn't fix a bad product. That's the whole thing, right? So you do need something to work with. Yeah. And so she did seem like that, again, was a great fit as a person, which is so important for me as well. And then like a very unique angle, and it paid off. Yeah.
So finally, like for any creators or anyone who's trying to grow their social media,
the biggest mistake right here for the creators, I think the biggest mistake is not building an email list. I have been on discovery calls with creators with 500,000 YouTube followers, 500,000 millions of followers, and they do not make a cent. They do not monetize their audience. They're not making money. And then my follow-up question is usually, how big is your email list? Oh, I don't have one. Or like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
There's 500,000 people in your social. How are they not in your email? Obviously that's not the only thing.
I think it's like an ego thing.
You think?
Because social media is vanity metrics. Everyone
can see it. Yeah, you can't see the email subscribers. But that's where the money really, the conversion.
Yeah, email is where the money is.
Right. And I was in the beginning a tiny bit stubborn. I was like, email. I didn't really care about email. But I now like see how big of a deal it is to have a list and have a growing list, owned
This
list.
is how much, for me, this is how much big of a difference it makes. Like, if I post something on my account with 150,000 followers to promote something versus my 10,000 email list, I'll do 100 times more sales with my 10,000 email list.
Exactly. It's a different objective, right? So like the organic is really drive traffic, build that email list as much as possible. Then take some sales and like conversions over there where it's a different type of interactions. I mean, I love getting emails from Panera during lunch. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I'm hungry. Let me go get some, But I was going to ask you that. How big is your email list? So you have 10,000 people?
Yeah. Okay. So what happened was I spent about 3 months growing my email list like heavily. Yeah. And that's when I got all of my...
And then you were like, I'm done.
And then I kind of... Yeah, and then I slacked off. So like as you were saying that, I'm like, I'm making that mistake.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you should have a bigger email list. Because I'm currently at 13,000, I think, for my email list. And it's like
I think it's like like I said, it's the ego thing. Yeah,
no one knows. But I mean, now they know, right?
Now everyone knows.
Everyone knows now. That's too funny.
Also, like, before I was going to say, like, when you were talking about engagement, I feel like this is what I would recommend. I don't know if you... Let me know what you think. But if you're growing your account from small in the beginning, I would actually heavily invest time into the engagement part.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. The frequency, posting frequency down, engagement up. Especially if someone is kind of more on the side where they kind of need sales, right? They need sales. We know that doesn't necessarily come from posting, but you need those one-on-one conversations. That's sales, right? Where like, hey, I'm like the lead generation. That's really in the DMs, into connecting with people, networking. 100% agree. Yeah.
Also for my account, like the algorithm didn't start helping me at all until I hit about like somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
Before that, nothing I do, it doesn't matter how amazing the content is, it'll never get views. I have to manually go out and engage and
do stuff. Yeah.
But then now, like I can literally take a post from back then.
Right. Repost. Yes. I actually did a post about this where I said, my content actually hasn't changed too much. I'm covering the same topics. I've even shown old graphics where it's the same thing, but I have an audience now and people are willing to listen. That's the difference. In the beginning, no one gives a damn.
That's actually that's huge. Like what's being said is not nearly as important as who
says it. Yeah, 100%. No one cared about what I had to say back then. They're like, who are you? And then now it's like, okay, we're willing to listen. There's some credibility here. Again, why personal brand is so important. Because if you don't have that credibility, you can say the best things, give the best advice. But if people aren't willing to listen, what's the point, right?
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we cover a lot.
I know, this is
if
fun.
Anybody's like, anybody's looking to grow a social media, management or marketing business, I think this episode is going to help you tremendously. Where can people find you? How do they work with you? Tell us all the...
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time on Instagram just by my name, Milou Pietersz. I'm sure you've put it in the notes. I also have like weekly YouTube videos, again, by my name on my channel. And I love to spend a lot of time on WhatsApp now. So yeah, they can find me there. Yeah,
I'll put all the links in the description.
Yeah,
and definitely check out her threads because she's there all the time. All right, thank you, Milou.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.